Hello everybody, my name is Luke Marr and this is Hotline Mode, and today on Hotline Mode we are going to be breaking down Kamala Harris's vice presidential Vogue covers. Yeah, we gotta talk about them. So on the night of Saturday, January 9th, 2021, a major breach happened within the fashion industry. And considering there was an attempted coup d'etat, which was held at the US Capitol building that week, maybe a fashion magazine cover leak means nothing to some. But in reality, the first Black and South Asian woman, Vice President Kamala Harris, appeared on the cover of American Vogue's February 2021 cover under the cover of darkness. Or at least a suspected cover. And well, this alleged cover began to cause a real stir. Outrage, some may even say, and I could see why. But we also must mention that this was the print edition cover from Vogue, as the publication went on to clarify. The digital cover, with Harris in a blue suit that's cropped in a more characteristically Vogue fashion, seemed the photo Kamala and everyone else deserved. But there is a lot to unpack with this cover, and or covers. Not just about Kamala, or Vogue, or whether or not you thought the styling was terrible, or if Converse should grace the cover of one of the most notable fashion magazines in the world. But something that we really must discuss is whether or not some are expecting a fashion moment from an elected official for the sole reason that she's a woman. That's the question that's really on my mind. Okay, quick disclaimer before we continue with the video. The Associated Press and CNN both published articles after we recorded this video, which said that the Kamala Harris team actually did not know that the first cover that came out, which is the one with the Donald Deal jacket and the green and pink background, was going to be featured as a cover. Like, they had no idea, apparently. And Kamala, apparently, or her team, was really disappointed in the fact that this photo was actually turned into a cover. Apparently, they believed that the blue Michael Kors suit cover was going to be the cover that was going to be published. So, just wanted to give you that info. We did not realize that until after filming. But let's get a quick bio on Kamala Harris before we move any further. Kamala Harris was born in 1964 in Oakland, California, to a Jamaican father and Indian mother. She studied political science and economics at Howard University, one of America's historically Black colleges and universities, commonly called HBCUs. She studied law at Hastings College in Nebraska and proceeded to become a deputy district attorney in her hometown of Oakland, and became district attorney in 2004, and eventually went on to become attorney general for California. She ran for California state senator in 2016 and won, where she gained more notice on the national political stage for her prosecutorial way of questioning during hearings. She then began to vie for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2020, where she and Joe Biden had a noticeable face-off during a debate or two. She withdrew from the race in December of 2019, and in August of 2020 it was announced that she would be running as Joe Biden's vice presidential running mate. And in November 2020, she was elected alongside Joe. Since then, it has been a contentious couple of months. Donald Trump's repeated attempts to thwart the American system of elections by saying there were fraudulent votes, saying the race was rigged before voting even started, and now telling his supporters that he, quote, loved them after they stormed the Capitol building, which has left 5 people dead, has been troubling to say the very least. And yet, through all of this, Kamala and Joe have put up a united front, which America seems to need right now. But with that out of the way, let's break down these two covers that Vogue gave Kamala. Firstly, let's talk about the cover scene around the world, and I'll be honest, I'm not obsessed. But to give a bit of context, I really can't remember an American Vogue cover in recent months that has been good. Sorry, Vogue. We all know that Harry Styles in a dress was the reason that cover popped off, not because Vogue actually has a strong creative direction. So Tyler Mitchell, photography wunderkind and go-to American Vogue photographer now, shot Kamala in a black jacket, white shirt, black jeans, and Converse. Tyler has risen through the ranks thanks to none other than Beyonce, whose ability to creative direct her own Vogue cover for the September 2018 issue was unheard of, until Beyonce fiancé'd, and that's a word and verb I am making up. It's to take total creative direction without having to fight about it whatsoever. Miss Knowles Carter handpicked Tyler to shoot the cover, where she donned a white Gucci dress and sat against a white cloth, which seems to be a common setting for Tyler when you look at Kamala's cover, where she stands on and against a pink silk curtain. The green and pink background, as Vogue has pointed out, is a reference to the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, whose colors are salmon pink and apple green. To speak more on Tyler Mitchell and American Vogue, here is Darnell Jamal Lisby, my partner on the Fashion Victims podcast and fashion historian. Darnell, what is the significance of sororities within HBCUs and Howard University specifically?
You have the Black Greek organizations. They were created as most organizations and institutions at the time, even prior to the formation of many of these organizations, because Black people weren't allowed to join white Greek fraternities and sororities. So they had to create an alternative for them to kind of facilitate a lot of those same values and ideals of community building, of education, of charity, and facilitate that within their own organizations, and obviously champion equality and unity in ways that the white Greek organizations were not doing and did not do for even, you can arguably say, even to this day. Specifically, when you're talking about the Divine Nine, aka the Black Greek organizations, the first sorority was the Alpha Kappa Alphas. That was formed in 1909 with 20 founding members. And those 20 founding members are represented by the 20 pearls that all AKA members wear. So when you see the pearls on Kamala Harris, the 20 pearls, they are in significance of those original founding members. And typically only AKA members wear the pearls for certain occasions and events. They don't wear them, all the time. They usually only take them out particular points in their active duty as members of AKA. But with that said, that's really kind of like the quick and dirty, but to say the least, the AKAs are the first Black Greek sorority to be established in 1909. Wow, and it was established at Howard University. So that's even more layers within layers of the significance of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority and Kamala Harris's tie-in, being that she is a Howard alumni.
And do you have any opinions, any thoughts on Kamala's covers?
Historically, right? You have this woman in power suits. It's very inspiring to put a woman in a power suit and know that it's evolution back when obviously only men wore suits and women weren't really socially allowed to wear suits, to now see a woman on probably the most coveted cover in the world to be in this stance in a power suit, and going to be not only just in the power suit but in that elected official position as vice president, I think is really just all a nice touch and an inspiring touch. That it also shows that women themselves, when they're on a cover of Vogue, they don't have to be, this classic conventional, glamazons. They can present as themselves in whatever capacity, whatever facet that they want to, whether it be in a very traditional, more power stance as Kamala Harris is really kind of eliciting, or it could be, very romantic as any of the other cover girls have done in previous covers. So it shows the range of that a woman should be able to elicit. And I think within itself that's beautiful. And even down to the silhouettes and the suiting itself, to see like the peak lapels, like these kind of little details that you will only see a lot in menswear, to be seen on a woman, and not even just a woman, a Black woman, is just incredible. And I think amazing within itself.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Tyler himself has personal ties to the sorority through family members, which he wanted to highlight in the shoot, although many found it an ill-fitting background. I mean, I'm not an expert in photography, so I won't critique the lighting or the background or the angles, because I think I know what exposure is, but it's just not a dazzling shot to me personally. Now, this goes back to my initial point. Should Kamala's Vogue cover be dazzling? I mean, she's not a First Lady of the United States, who do have a history of being documented for Vogue, but not always getting covers. According to Vogue, the First Lady in the pages of Vogue was Lou Henry Hoover, and Hillary Clinton was the first to don a cover for the publication. But from my understanding, no vice president has ever gotten a Vogue cover before, so there is no precedent on how to shoot or style an elected official of this caliber for the cover of Vogue. Although Kamala's Elle cover for November 2020 would tend to disagree. As for the styling of this photo though, I'm not expecting the high-end glamour of Hillary Clinton or Michelle Obama's covers. I think that would be downright wrong. Kamala Harris is a working official and vice president. Just because she is a woman, it's silly to expect her to don a Dior haute couture gown or a Margiela tabby boot for the sake of appeasing fashion lovers. Although, I will pay a lot of money for anybody that takes a photo of Kamala Harris in tabby boots. If a vice president, who happened to be a man, was on the Vogue cover, we'd expect a nicely tailored suit, an iron button-down shirt, and a silk tie maybe, and not much else. So the more business casual aspect of this photo kind of makes sense. The jacket was made by the New York-based designer Donald Deal. Deal is known for having apprenticed for James Galanos, a staple of the 7th Avenue fashion world, and a consistent dresser of Nancy Reagan. It seems that Donald, who has called Kamala a friend, has followed in his mentor's footsteps when it comes to political dressing. Donald has also mentioned that he has dressed Kamala on 2 different inauguration occasions, one as District Attorney of San Francisco and the other as Attorney General of California. Could we see a 3rd inauguration look from Donald on January 20th? I'm not sure, but have heard that the inauguration look designer would be a black designer, and I've also heard that Kamala will only be wearing American designers, at least for a period, which could leave New York fashion favorites like Christopher John Rogers, Pierre Moss, and Kushney as candidates, which I'm not opposed to. But back to the jacket, a representative from Donald Deal stated that the jacket was a 3-button black and gray cashmere and silk jacquard jacket, meaning that while to some it might not have seemed the best choice, it was the epitome of subtle luxury. The jacket was made in New York, the fashion capital of the country, and a city that has been struggling with keeping its heralded garment industry afloat and relevant. And it was also a custom piece, meaning Kamala has been supporting small fashion businesses, which have almost all been affected by the pandemic. The white t-shirt, while some may ask for more professional garms, feels relatable and casual, not haughty and self-indulgent. I mean, when you're wearing a silken cashmere jacket, a simple shirt brings a high-low feel, which is very on brand for today, which Kamala seems to channel. Black jeans were an interesting choice, but again, reinforce accessibility, and senior critic at large for the Washington Post, Robin Gavin, believes that the photographs in general were overly familiar and didn't see that as a good thing. She explores the respect and wow factor black women often don't receive, and I highly recommend that you read her piece. And the most daring choice throughout all of these photos was Kamala's donning a pair of black and white Converse. I personally have never seen the appeal of the shoe, but it is an American staple, and Kamala has been photographed in them quite a bit. I've even heard a story about how she wore them on the Senate floor and was told by somebody, maybe Mitch McConnell, to take them off. I'm not certain about that, but she has a history with them. Overall, this photograph isn't evidently the desired image for the vice president, but at this point, I'm not sure what would satiate all appetites, and seeing as how she is the first in so many respects, I don't think that satisfaction will come easy, unfortunately. As for the second cover, said by Vogue to be the digital cover, it's really lovely. Kamala wears a powder blue Michael Kors suit with a simple white shirt underneath, some light jewelry, and an American flag pin. The fit of the jacket is nice, and to me similar to the white Carolina Herrera suit we saw at the election victory speeches. She wore a wide-legged pant with a boxier jacket, which still created an emphasis at the waist, yet wasn't in an exaggerated hourglass shape. A single button, silk pussy bow blouse, and beige shoe with a black mask all provided simplistic details that didn't shout but spoke firmly. On this Michael Kors collection suit, the lapels are wide, the pants are a little bit wide-legged as well. I do have a last-minute description of the look, apparently from Michael Kors, and it says that the jacket is a vintage stream wash double crepe sable straight leg blazer and pant. very nice, and I don't know what more than half of those words mean. And the shirt underneath is an optic white silk charmeuse blouse, which I was not expecting. I was going more t-shirt, but listen, Kamala's keeping it classy and I like it. The jacket creates shape, but doesn't enforce said shape, and the t-shirt underneath adds a casual feel. I mean, it's charmeuse and it's beautiful, so I'm happy with it. The cover is not giving a real fashion moment, but very few politicians do give fashion moments. Listen, AOC in the Telfar bag was great, but you know, was it like a oh my god moment? Not particularly, but it was great nonetheless. Politicians must toe the line of wearing pieces that look well constructed, maybe even showing the prowess of those that work within their apparel industries, while at the same time remaining grounded, approachable, and relatable. You don't want to be Imelda Marcosing, you know? This Michael Kors suit achieves that. It's not full of expensive embellishments, which would surely drive the price up. It's an understandable fit that doesn't create too extravagant of a silhouette. And the shirt underneath whispers an empathy to the idea of professional dressing today. You don't have to wear a three-piece suit to work or church anymore, so why should our elected officials be held to a standard that feels out of date? We want them to be modern, we want them to be understanding of us, so I think they should dress like that as well. Crisp, clean, and classy is what I get from the digital cover, and should I expect more? I don't think so. When you look at Kamala's Vogue covers, I think everybody was expecting more. Some a lot more, others just a little. But to be honest, I refuse to expect something fashion forward of Kamala. I never expected something fashion forward of Mike Pence or Joe Biden, and so why do I have the right to expect something fashion forward of somebody whose predecessors just wore suits? Do I and many others expect it solely because of her gender? That's a question I've been asking myself a lot recently, and it's a question I'm gonna be asking myself for the next 4 years. But to be really fair and true, what Kamala does fashion-wise should be nowhere near as heavily scrutinized as it most likely will be. Because we all know we couldn't have given a rat's ass about the suits and ties the straight white men who came before her all wore. If we hold a certain expectation of fashion in the Oval Office, I think Dr. Jill Biden is where you should be looking, or we should be looking. The FLOTUS has a long history tied to the American fashion industry, and for certain FLOTUSes, the European industry as well. And if we ever get a Hbcus, a first gentleman of the United States, if you will, let's keep the glamorous, fashion-forward, and stylistic expectations that we had for every other FLOTUS with him as well. I want to see him in like nice, you know, chic menswear, because that's what we expect of everybody else. Just not menswear, women's wear. As a send-off, I'm not sure what the next 4 years will bring with Kamala Harris as vice president, but her policies should be the heavily dissected and debated aspect of her tenure, not her outfits. So that is the end of today's video. I would love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. It's a very interesting topic. It's the first time that discourse like this is ever really happening, and I think it's important that we discuss it. And with that, thank you again for watching. I'll see you on the next one, and TTYL.